very patiently waiting. So, as some of you may know, that we have the U.S. Open Cup second round starting this week. So we actually have someone from the cup.us on. This is Josh. Josh, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Great. Ready for my second U.S. Open Cup ever. I was at the Des Moines, Minneapolis City game 2 weeks ago, or a week ago.
That was a good one to start with. Finally, Minneapolis getting into the tournament and not getting disqualified at halftime or anything. They're trying to come up with new ways to get disqualified. And I thought maybe like they played with 12 players the entire game and then they got disqualified. But they made it through the whole game. And Des Moines looks strong as they usually do. So
unfortunately,
it was a good starter.
Yeah. So for some of the people that don't know you, can you kind of talk about yourself as well as like the cup.us and kind of what everything you guys do for the soccer community?
Yeah. Well, the show. Well, there was a radio show that I started back in I think it's 2002, I think, and in 2003 we were approached by a website company to start an Open Cup site because we were the only radio show, the only media outlet really that was covering the U.S. Open Cup. And so every week we covered every level of American soccer from the national team and MLS to, from down to the PDL or USL League 2 as it is now. And even in college soccer too. And so they were like, hey, we've got this URL, and we got a website that you can just use to promote your show. And so they reached out to us and we started this site. And, at first it was just us putting, scores up and, maybe just promoting our interviews that we had on the show. But eventually it turned into a thing where we were like, we're the only ones doing this. So I feel like we should probably do it right. And so we made sure we have reporters at every game. We make sure we, do the research for the history section of the site and basically help people learn about the Open Cup, which is basically what we've been doing for the last 18 years.
Nice. So I know for a lot of us, this is like the first year that we've been in it or the first time in a while since we've seen the Cup. Can you just give us like a real brief history of what the U.S. Open Cup is, especially for people who may have only watched European soccer or Mexican soccer or South American soccer before coming to watch USL League One?
Yeah, and don't feel bad because if you are watching this and you're like, I have no idea what the U.S. Open Cup is, you're not alone. Because, I talk to soccer coaches and I feel like out of all the people in the soccer world that should at least have a vague understanding of what happens in the sport, it would be coaches. I feel like they should at least be aware of it. And I do play-by-play, and so there was a youth soccer tournament. It was like the state championships in Michigan, and I was calling the games. I was talking to the coaches, and I brought up the Open Cup, and they one of them was like, the U.S. Open Cup. Well, what is that? And I was like, it's like our FA Cup. It's just same thing. And they're like, oh, we have one of those? I'm like, yeah, it's been around since 1913. I know it hasn't got a lot of media coverage, but we're working on it. But yeah, it's been around since 1913, and up until the pandemic, it was the second oldest continually operating tournament in the world. So we had a good thing going there for a while until the pandemic came along and ruined our little streak. But it is one of the oldest cup competitions in the world, and I guess the best way I put it to people who don't know, like if they're not soccer fans, you could use minor league baseball as an example. I'm from Michigan, so we have the Lansing Lugnuts, the single A team in our capital city, and I tell people like, okay, imagine a tournament where the Lansing Lugnuts are in this like March Madness tournament, and if they get far enough, they can play the New York Yankees. And I'm like, that's amazing. And I'm like, okay, well then take it even a step further. What if like in Lansing, like the Lansing Beer League team on the weekend, like could qualify in that same tournament and play the Yankees. Like, that is how it works. And like, people are usually pretty blown away by that. And it's amazing that it hasn't really become a big thing, but it's growing little by little every year that we do it. So hopefully it'll have its heyday and get the coverage it deserves.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things of it gaining more momentum is you see a team like New Mexico back in 2019 where they make such a deep run. You see teams like Rochester and Richmond, teams that aren't these MLS teams. And I think now as more lower league teams are getting involved, it's starting to get to that level, I think, as more people are going to want to actually care and actually pay attention. What has been, in your opinion, the most impressive run in the U.S. Open Cup, whether it was a Cinderella, whether it was just a team dominated everyone? What has been the most impressive team you've seen, or the most impressive year for an Open Cup?
I think that the easy answer is that the '99 Rochester Rhinos. They're the only team in the modern era that have won the cup that wasn't a Major League Soccer team. I mean, that's kind of an easy answer. That we've had some pretty good ones, like in 2006, the Dallas Roma, an amateur team, obviously from Dallas, they qualified and got in, and they beat a really good, amateur team in the first round. And you're like, okay, that's great. And then they actually traveled to Wilmington and beat that team. It was a League One team, Division III, and then they actually came. I'm sorry, I'm mixing up my runs. Cal FC was the one who beat. Oh no, my thing died.
You're still there though. Don't worry. We
can hear you.
Now I think we lost him.
Well, his picture's still up there for perpetuity. So, but yeah, I mean, I think I know for one, like kind of what Josh was talking about. Seeing the magic that's happened in other domestic cups. For those of you that don't know me very well, I'm a big fan of German soccer. So seeing some of those runs that some of the smaller clubs do throughout the years is always really exciting. And, especially being a fan instead of being a Bayern Munich fan, now it's the shoes on the other foot and I'm a third division team fan. And, it's really cool to think that my team could get to host an MLS team and they have no choice but to play us in a meaningful game. And I think that's really cool. And it's even cooler if we win.
It's so much fun. How this interview was going. I didn't like his answer.
That's an issue. All right. That's an issue.
No, I didn't like his answer.
94 kickers won a cup.
95. Let's get it right.
I didn't know you guys won. And I remember talking shit on RVA's Reddit about how you guys hadn't won anything. And he just roasted my ass about that. And I was like, shit, I just walked into that one.
Yeah, so, you got to watch out with that one.
We will let you know. 95. Okay.
He is almost back. So let's just waste a little bit more time.
Well, then let me tell you this one. So NCFC back when they were the Railhawks. Don't ask me what a Railhawk is. We would always play, for some fucking reason, LA Galaxy. And every time the Galaxy,
y'all would always play Galaxy, which is weird.
It's like that draw is it's like, come on in. And the greatest picture that you will ever see hanging up is the milk carton of where's missing Bruce Arenas, because he literally said in an interview he was tired of losing in Carolina, so he didn't show up for an Open Cup game, and then they still lost.
I think one of the memories I remember is we played Columbus Crew, and on that team, it was so cool to play them. It was a closely contested game, but I think we played the Crew, Galaxy. I know the games against DC United are always close because it's a derby almost, and lack of a better term, but yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it was there was a Minnesota United game when they were in the NASL and they were playing Sporting Kansas City, and it was one of those where it's like, okay, we're gonna fight hard, and it got chippy and it got close. I was like, maybe these two teams are gonna fight. It was getting to the point where I was like, maybe they'll fight. Who knows? I want to see it happen. Unfortunately, Sporting Kansas City won, and I think added extra time, which was a bummer. But that was definitely one of the most energetic games I've ever seen on a Tuesday for Minnesota United.
I mean, that's also the Florida Soccer Soldiers knocking off Charlotte. That was always a fun one. That was a
Yeah.
really good one.
Ford Madison beating El Paso in 2019. That was awesome.
Yo, that was a peak annoying for Madison. God, that was peak annoying for Madison.
Peak. We'll get to that later. I don't want to
Because
waste
no,
our
like
content for later.
I understand they beat a USL championship team, but you would have thought like they beat LA Galaxy David Beckham. Like, oh God. Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, we got Josh back. Welcome back,
Yeah.
Josh.
Yeah, I had like 2% on my laptop, and then I had my wife very sneakily handing me a power cord, and as soon as I was about to plug it into the wall, it was shutting down. So sorry about that.
All good. So for people who maybe didn't watch the first round, can you kind of talk about some of like the big storylines from that first round? I know there was some controversy and some replays, and what teams kind of stood out for me from that first round.
Oh yeah, we're gonna on Friday. They're gonna replay the game between Westchester United and FC Motown, which was one of the games we were really looking forward to seeing. Just two top-notch amateur teams and huge amateur teams. Like they have multiple teams in multiple leagues, and so I thought if any two teams were going to be ideal for the Open Cup, it would be the clubs that have multiple teams to draw players from, because as I'm sure you guys have talked about, the moving the tournament to March means college players can't participate. So it really hampers all the USL League 2 teams and the NPSL teams because they don't have college players. So they basically got to pull together a team from, either year-round players or, in some cases, some teams, pulled former players or some former pros and maybe who aren't with a team that are trying to get in with a team. So I thought that was the big controversy, was that we, for the first time since '95, we had the federation step in and call for a replay. And basically what had happened is that Westchester United had been told they had a player get injured and a suspected concussion, and so they took him out. And then he would later come back into the game after being replaced. And so there was some confusion with the fourth official. He was under the impression that you could do a temporary sub, and that was not the case. And so, it ended up being Westchester United came back to win the game. They were down 2-0, came back to win 3-2. And it was a big dramatic game. We were like, oh, great, we got this great game. And then FC Motown filed a protest, and they figured that out. Nobody was denying anything. That's what happened, and so the federation told them to play it over again. So they're playing on Friday, and that was. It seems like every round has like some controversy somewhere, which makes it fun. But there are some things where they're just kind of dumb mistakes where a team has to forfeit for some reason or another. So that was this round's controversy.
Hey, if a Bundesliga team cannot know how many subs they have and do illegal amount of subs and get kicked out, then anything can happen in the U.S. Open Cup.
It's very possible.
Damn it, Wolfsburg. Well, anyways, let's just run through all of our matchups for USL 1. So, bad radio, but we're going to go in the order of our notes for this. So the first one's going to be North Carolina Fusion U23, who I believe is joining NISA, versus Charlotte Independence, who is our big mystery team in League One this year. Anybody have any thoughts?
Yeah, we don't really know and again, like the Fusion are a USL League 2 team, so it's like you don't really know what to expect because you don't know what kind of team they're able to put together. I know last round the Ocean City Nor'easters of USL League 2 basically had a team of former players, and some of them from as far back. Actually, like I remember watching one of the players who was play for Ocean City in 2005. And he is still around and kicking. He played a really good game, by the way. Credit to him at age 37. But yeah, some of these teams are just putting together these sort of like alumni teams and picking out players locally, some ringers even. So I don't know what to expect out of the. Fusion are a strong team, and they have a lot of players to pull from in that area. So, Charlotte, unfortunately for them, have been bitten a few times by and actually by Ocean City the last time around, 2018. So they're a team that has been upset a few times by amateur teams. So maybe on paper that might be an upset alert.
I think this is the upset game.
I was going to say that just because I don't know what to expect out of Charlotte. Like, just how you don't know what to expect out of North Carolina Fusion because of the new changes with no college kids. I have no clue. Other than Miguel Ibarra, who somehow is in Charlotte, I don't know anyone else on Charlotte that I just don't know.
What's amazing is you can bet on these games. Like there are betting sites that are taking bets on these games, and I know this tournament about as good as anybody, and I don't know most of these teams, and I want to know where they're getting their information because some of these betting lines are wild. Like they're just I'm half tempted to participate at some point because there's somewhere I'm like, it's too big of a gap. It seems like you'd have to put at least $5 on it on a result there. But it's amazing to me that we've gotten to the point now where you can bet on U.S. Open Cup games. But maybe that says more about the gambling degenerate segment of our population than it does anything else.
That being said, if you're one of these companies who takes bets on the U.S. Open Cup, it's walkin.90@gmail.com. We'll send you over the sponsorship sheet.
There you go, Chip. There you go. My boy.
Who needs a merger?
We all need
out here promoting.
We all need to buy ourselves a Tormenta kit. So
I know, right? I'm literally in the group chat like, I need it. About to hop in Tormenta's DMs right now.
So the next game on our sheet is a team near and dear to my heart. Union Omaha versus Des Moines Menace. If you want to read a very good write-up of that, John Ryan over at Who Gives a Hoot wrote a nice article about that today. Fun game. They're bringing in, I believe the number's up to 4 or 5 buses to Omaha. They're doing a $25 deal where you get a charter bus out to Omaha, a couple of beers on the bus, and then they bring you back with it, and then you get your ticket as well. So I think they're going to have quite the crowd out there for Des Moines. So it should be a real fun game.
Yeah, what's even tougher, especially a team like Union Omaha, where you know obviously their season they had last year, but you assume that they had some turnover. You don't know what to expect from them either. So like you assume they're probably going to be just as good, or at least. But Des Moines, again, with the USL League 2 wild card, like we don't know how good they're going to be, but they put up a 4 spot on Minneapolis City, so that's something. And Des Moines kind of has the monopoly on soccer in Iowa there, so I don't know. That one could be tough, but I can't imagine Union Omaha. I think the only thing going against them is that they haven't really played any games yet, so that's they could be. I think a lot of these games could be on upset alert, really, based on nobody playing any games.
Yeah,
I think this is the funnest matchup because you got the 2 league champions.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, that's good too.
Mm-hmm. I think the really fun dynamic with this game is obviously right now Omaha is the team that's up a division and Des Moines is a team that's down a division. But starting in 2024, it's going to be flipped. And so these same people that are coming to Omaha on Tuesday and saying, "Oh, golly gee willikers, this is so cool. Look at this League One team." The shoe's going to be on the other foot in 2024. And I got to imagine that we'll probably play him next year in the Open Cup. And we'll probably play him in 2024 in the Open Cup. And we'll, if and when the USL Challenge Cup comes along, we'll probably play him in that too. So I think this is going to be a start of a really fun little friendship. I'm not going to use the word that's going to get me in trouble on this podcast when talking about Omaha and other teams, but it's going to be a very fun team friendship with Des Moines. And I think it's going to be really fun. And I think that's a fun dynamic to think about as well. And I know I am personally excited to grab some beers with the Des Moines fans. They were very welcoming when we were in Des Moines, and I look forward to extending the same hospitality to them in Omaha.
Wait, so are you guys? So a lot of y'all are saying that the Independence game is going to be the upset game. I think it's this one. This one has the makings to be like a really heavy, fun, grinded out game. That's like, if I'm watching anything, I'm watching that one. And then obviously CFC, but
yeah. Well, and the big thing is you'll note on the stadium location, we are playing at Morrison Stadium, not Werner Field, which is the Cracker Jack box that everyone loves to complain about. So we're playing on a regulation field too. The last time we played there, it didn't end so well. So we'll see how it goes. But no, it should be a fun game. I'm really looking forward to it. If you see me there, I'll have Walking 90 stickers if you want one.
I was going to say, Des Moines is definitely a team that has consistently been obviously the best team in USL League 2, and it'll be interesting to see how they do right now because, Omaha's not going to have as many games under their belt. Des Moines had a tough game. Granted, they've had a couple weeks now to like kind of get their legs back, but after having a tough match again in not great weather conditions, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But this is definitely a interesting match. I think the upset alert is actually going to be the next one, and that is Fuego against El Paso. I think that one could be a real upset. El Paso has struggled so far this season. They haven't won a game. Fuego, we've been saying Fuego might come out and they can come out the gates and be pretty impressive. So I don't know. That is my upset pick, actually. I think Fuego against El Paso is definitely the one that's going to give people's attention.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Again, with the Fuego also being a newer team like that, that makes it even worse. We're not only haven't played very many competitive games, but also they're new to each other. So I mean, it's and El Paso, they've struggled to start, but I have to think that that's another one of those teams that should carry over from last year a little bit. Although they have a new goalkeeper, so I mean that's
and a whole new coaching staff.
Yeah, they got a lot of turnover there. So I don't know. It's tough to know.
That Charleston versus Tormenta game, I think that one could be.
That's my upset pick.
That's just going to be vibes and chaos. And
yeah,
I love it.
It's going to be both at the same time. I love it because Tormenta is money.
We get an interstate derby, and I know it's going to bring levels of chaos that I'm not ready for.
So when I went down to visit the folks at Tormenta, we actually stayed in Charleston. I mean, they are literally 2 hours apart on the interstate, and not direct interstate. You're talking going through whatever types of trees those are down there in the South Carolina marshland type situation, 2 hours. So they're 60 miles apart, and that's going to be a lot of fun. I know that we talked to them about that, and that was a matchup they really wanted to see. So it's cool to see them get that matchup. And I think new look Tormenta versus struggling Charleston. I think new look Tormenta is going to score a lot of goals, and hopefully they score enough to make it to the next round.
I think that's what's good about the tournament is that you get these matchups that you wouldn't normally get, and you don't get to see these teams from different leagues play each other. And some of them are weird. Some of we had the Michigan Stars and Detroit City were playing each other in NISA very recently, but now that they're in different leagues, it's sort of everything old is new again. So that's going to be the pettiest. That's going to be the pettiest one too. It's going to be. I think the Stars are going to pull out all the stops for that one because they are sort of like the little brother of that Detroit market in soccer. So I think that's going to be interesting and playing at Detroit City. But some of the other ones too, the Colorado one, the Northern Colorado Hailstorm FC, which I think they get bonus points for using as many letters as possible. It's like the Scrabble champion of USL League One. Playing the Switchbacks, they're off to a good start, but they, that traditionally that hasn't been their strongest tournament. But that I think that's always fun. I think anything where you get these teams that wouldn't normally play each other and planting the seeds of a rivalry, because one game does not make a rivalry, of course, but that always is a good way to begin one, though.
I don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, sorry, inside joke there. The next thing we got is, so this is a good one to explain kind of the seeding. I've heard how the matchups work incorrectly like 100 times. Can you explain to our listeners how NCFC can play Rio Grande Valley in the tournament? Can you explain like kind of how that happens?
So basically what they do is they take all the teams and they put them into sort of regional pods and just to try to minimize travel. And, obviously there's always going to be like an odd number. Somebody's going to be, the odd one out. That's why we have, like Oakland Roots traveling to Greenville, which is absurd, but, it's just the way the numbers work out. So they try to minimize travel as much as possible. Years ago, I remember when the early days of the site, I can't remember what year it was, but there was a year where like an amateur team from Yakima, Washington, up in the Northwest had to travel to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, for a midweek Open Cup game against the Harrisburg City Islanders. And we're just like, why would you do that? And that's just the way it was. And then really it was shortly after that, they decided we really got to cut down on the travel. So sorry, Sounders and Timbers fans, you're going to play each other in the early rounds. There's nothing you can do about it. You're not going to play each other in the final.
They'll survive.
So, yeah, I don't think we need more Sounders and Timbers in our lives anyway. I think they have enough of a rivalry to satisfy themselves. So,
God forbid they're mildly inconvenienced by a tournament that they don't care about.
Hey, the tournament doesn't matter until it matters, okay?
Right. That's what I always hear from teams. They're like, oh yeah, we don't. If we get upset by an amateur team, we weren't really trying.
No, I don't win every game. Damn it!
And you make a run, and then all of a sudden it's like the greatest thing.
Let us be DC United. Yeah. Oh, I'm talking cash money millionaire shit.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna ban me from DC.
Yeah. It sounds like when I play my neighbor kids in board games when I'm babysitting, and they win. It's like, oh yeah, I let you. And it's like, no, I didn't let you. I just lost to an 8-year-old in a board game that I told her how to play. So that is my life. But anyways,
you always gotta win.
Always, no mercy. But anyways, so Evan, do you want to talk about NCFC versus Rio Grande at all? What do you think? Some familiar faces in Rio Grande.
Yeah, it's gonna be I'm hoping that it is just a pure vibes game, and we walk out with like a 3-0 win. And it's just a warm up for Saturday. But actually, I can't even say knowing my team because this is a whole new team from last year. So
an improved team,
very much so. Yeah, I just feel like I jinxed my whole fucking team.
There you go.
Yeah.
If NCFC loses, it's at Ebony Christmas.
No,
find her.
There is no Christmas in it.
No, it's just Ebony C 25. I'll take it. What they gonna do? Fight me?
I better realize Ebony is the queen of blocking people.
I don't even block. I got time for that.
All right, I think this is probably in terms of teams that not necessarily the most like evenly matched, but I think the most high profile match out of like all the League One teams. I feel like Louisville and Chattanooga is definitely going to be up there. Louisville, obviously, one of the best teams in USL Championship in the past. It's definitely relevant right now. Then you have this Chattanooga team that I think a lot of people are pretty high on. So I don't know. Like I could see Chattanooga struggling just going to Louisville, having that game. They're already hit with injuries, and they're going to have to play this previous Saturday. But maybe if Chattanooga gets healthy enough, they can do something. I don't know. Like this is going to be an interesting one. Like they out of all the other matches, this is one where I probably would at least try and pay attention to the most.
Well, and Kyle's bearing the lead here. So because of how the rules work, third division teams cannot play each other in the second round. So in order to get a Chattanooga derby, we need Chattanooga to beat Louisville and Chattanooga FC to upset whoever the hell they're playing. I don't know. I didn't do my job there. But we need that to happen because I don't know about you, but I want the chaos of a Chattanooga derby. I mean, it might just be online.
They're playing Memphis 901, which is a good chance that might be an upset.
Yeah.
So we if you are a fan of chaos, which everyone is,
Chaos and Petty, you want that matchup.
Say a little dark prayer to your the internet soccer chaos gods, and let's hope that Chattanooga pulls it off. Both the Chattanoogas pull it off, and they get picked in the next round because that is going to be a very, very spicy matchup. And I, for one, am all here for it.
Yeah, well, and then we also, for the next, like Northern Virginia, who just picked up, they had a game that was on Wednesday. So they played a replay because the game got lightninged out, if that's
What the hell does that mean?
There's a lot of lightning, and you couldn't play it. By the time it ended, it was like 5 a.m. That's happened to Madison and Omaha last season.
Well, that was just rain, but yeah.
It was like, forget it. Let's just do it over. And that's what they did. And Norton, I think we've known Northern Virginia FC as a USL League 2 team for years, like dating back to 1998. I think they go back to. And, they've been sort of like an average to below average USL League 2 team. But then a couple of years ago, they decided to go full-blown year-round. And I think we're seeing some of the results there because they look pretty good on Wednesday. And I think Richmond might be in some trouble with that game. It wasn't quite – it was like a finalist for me for like an upset pick, but
so I'm not gonna lie, like they kind of concern me just because of how feisty they are. Like I expect them to be like bunkered in, not really trying to be on the ball like that, and I'm interested to see if Richmond can break them down. But then also it's like this team picked up 5 yellow cards just off of picking up fights, and had a red card because the dude got body slammed in the game, and also the head coach got a yellow card for cussing out the 4th official.
Hey. Welcome to the Open Cup.
This is Virginia soccer all in one.
Yeah, this is the same tournament that gave you gems like the coach of the San Diego Gauchos getting suspended for multiple years because he chased the referee into the referee's room or into the parking lot. I can't remember exactly, but there's all sorts of chaos that happens in this tournament.
This is also the same tournament that had Clint Dempsey playing for, I think it was Sounders 2 or something like that.
No, he was playing for the Sounders. He was playing for the Sounders versus Timbers. They were playing at Starfire, and he just said fuck it, and he took the ref's book out of his hand and just ripped it up. So if Clint if he ever comes back to the Open Cup, he's got to serve his 1-game suspension.
Oh no, he's actually we talked about this because he is his suspension has expired. So he actually, if he wanted to, if the Des Moines Menace wanted to pick him up, and he's he's retired, he's not playing for anybody. He could play for them, and when I heard that Eric Winaldo was getting involved with the Las Vegas Legends, like we thought he was coaching the team, and now I guess he's just sort of like helping out, recruiting players and things like that. As soon as I heard him, I was like, man, I wonder if he would like knock on Clint's door and see if he wanted to play a few games. And hey, there's nothing stopping you from doing it. So that would have been interesting.
I think Eric Winaldo would try. He would definitely try. And then Bar City Union is the new NISA team up in Rochester. That is who they are.
They have some really good merch. I'm looking at their shop right now. Their bevy bundle is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, their colors are like lilac and like
it's like Racing Louisville, basically.
Yeah, it's basically
the only team in Rochester I fully represent as a team for Rochester.
Like they did lilac better than Racing. I'm not understanding it. It's good.
You guys will have to help me out because I have not fought other than their Jersey game, which is pretty strong with Forward Madison. I don't know a whole lot what they bring to the table against Cleveland SC in that one. So I will leave that one up to you guys.
Yeah, Forward. It's interesting because I know the coach wants to have this exciting soccer and would rather, and he's been quoted saying they'd rather win 5-4 than have a clean sheet. But based off of the signings that they've had, this is going to be a more defensively sound team. It's a very tough team to break down. I wonder how they're going to do offensively. They have guys that are very talented, but haven't had much match fitness in match games just between injuries and out of form and stuff like that. But I think they're going to try and defend. They're probably going to rotate. I think there's going to be some rotation. So whoever is playing on that Saturday against Chattanooga, I don't know how many of them are going to play as well. So it could be interesting to see like the depth, whatever depth they have and how they kind of set up. Because they probably will go with 3 in the back, maybe 5 in the back. They might go with the diamond. They might go with like a 4-4-2 or 3-4-3. I don't know. There's a lot of intrigue, but they will defensively be pretty stout, I think.
And they're playing at home, so that'll help.
And that definitely helps.
Yeah.
And I get to watch, so I'm happy about that.
Even better.
Which is always fun because I believe you guys got snow today.
Yes, we did. It was great. Loved it.
You
Fuck
don't
yeah.
look happy at all, Kyle.
Yeah, I am from Michigan, but I am coming to you live from South Carolina, and it's always fun to be on vacation, and then you get an alert on your phone that says winter weather advisory while you're like outside in the sun, like on a hike or something. It's a beautiful thing.
At least I didn't have to shovel. That's the only positive about the snow. I didn't have to shovel.
Yeah. I don't rule out snow until after Memorial Day. But speaking of snow, I mean, you've got the Colorado matchup that I mentioned. I feel like the Switchbacks are probably. I mean, with a new team, I feel like you could probably put your money on the USL Championship team playing at home in that one. I don't know a whole lot about the Hailstorm, and
They're salty.
I don't know much about the directional. I don't know how you guys feel about directional teams that have to specify exactly where in the state they're from. We have a lot of those in Michigan with the universities, with Western Michigan, Eastern Michigan, Northern Michigan,
Central.
all of them. Like, yeah, we got Central too. Like, it sort of adds a little too much to the name, but I don't know. That's not really gonna make a good prediction out of it. But
Well, the problem with Northern Colorado is we don't know where they would be. They're Windsor, Colorado, and I don't know how many people have actually heard of Windsor.
So they're in between Fort Collins and they're in between pretty much. They're in between Fort Collins and Greeley, Colorado. Which of those you probably only have heard of one of them. But
So they're East Bumblefuck. Got you.
East Bumblefuck nowhere. They're cow country.
so you're saying that our in-depth analysis is we don't know where they play, so therefore, we don't know.
Well, their stadium still isn't completed, so yeah.
They don't know where they're going to play because I don't think their stadium's supposed to be done until July, and they have home
They
games
just
in May,
are having all road games until then.
They're the Washington Generals of USL League One.
Nice. Okay, well, I'm sure they'll appreciate it. I think your listenership just tripled out in northern Colorado.
But jokes aside, I think if Colorado Springs obviously a very strong side with Haji Berry, they're a resurgent side. They hadn't done much for years, but then they got that new downtown stadium. They started drawing. They signed Haji Berry to. The joke was they signed him to like a 300-year contract because they messed up the some of the numbers in the contract length.
Nice.
They're a salty team, but unfortunately for NOCO, who has signed a ton of really great guys from around League One, they've gotten a lot of really good guys from USLC and abroad. Colorado Springs is a very, very salty team. If they had played the Azteca from Denver instead, this might be a different story, but it seems like one of those ones where, while they may be one of the better USL 1 teams, their trip in the Cup might be short-lived just because of how good Colorado Springs is as a team. And speaking of really bad USLC teams, FC Tucson versus the Lights.
Yeah, well, I was surprised nobody had that picked as their upset special. Like that.
Well, the Lights been pretty good so far.
Was that too
surprisingly
easy?
good.
That might have been too easy.
I just don't know. I am still hesitant on Tucson, so before I start hyping them up, I'm still tentative on that.
First of all, do the Lights even play soccer? Do they know they play soccer?
They've won 2 games.
Right. They've had big ups. They beat Phoenix.
They have llamas.
That's all I know.
They have beds on. So the Lights are who everyone in League One thinks Madison is, but it's not who Madison is.
We have some standards. Damn it.
Yeah, like the Lights have beds on the field. They've got their llamas
Did
are
they have
shitting
a
on
money
the
push
ground.
one day?
They
they
out of a
did.
helicopter. They're just all like, we're not even going to pretend like you're here for the soccer game. You're here for this carnival sideshow. And here's a soccer game going on at the same time. Have fun. Avoid the llama shit.
And yet here they are putting in results so far this season. Like, they lost the first game to New Mexico, but they beat Phoenix, and then they go to El Paso and beat them.
A fun game.
No, they look good so far.
It's
Well, I
surprising.
will say my pick, my upset pick would have to be Greenville and Oakland. I feel like that's one of the. It's a little easy. I think like just having the cross country trip and Greenville being just very consistent over the years. I can't imagine that they are really going to fall off and playing at home. And John Hart's takes the Open Cup very serious. He's one of those people, the former players and current coaches that I've talked to that you can tell when they genuinely love the Open Cup. And there are some that sort of just give you the line, like, oh, we try to win every competition we're in and all that. Like, there are people who really care. I think Tony Meola from his generation also, like Tony Meola is another one of those. He was telling me for a story I wrote about the Wizards in Sporting Kansas City about his run in 2004, and he was telling me like there was an early round game where he got taken out, and they Beau Chanier was the backup, and they let him play, and he was legit pissed. Like he was like, I want to play in this game. I was like, yeah, you're playing the Atlanta Silverbacks. Like, come on, I'm sure that you guys could get by with your backup. And no, he was like, I was angry. So I think John Harkes is very much the same. I think he really wants to make a run with his team, and I think having a team like Oakland, who's not the strongest team, and I think coming across the country, I think that could be a
they're
big
in a poor run. They're in a poor form right now, anyway. So
yeah,
like they were up 2-0 and tied 2-2, like, and they haven't won a game. They're just.
I'm telling you, I think that's the
right
one.
now.
That's my pick. So I'll go real simple with the cross country road trip
Not fair.
On a short week too.
on a short week. Yeah, right. On top of and that's the other thing. I feel like people give MLS teams a lot of flack for not playing their like best 11 when they're playing against a USL League One team or even an amateur team. And I'm like, well, I mean, they just played over the weekend, and they're going to have to play next weekend. Like, you can't just play your first. You should be able to beat a USL League Two, an amateur team, or you should be able to beat a League One team most days with like a couple of non-starters. You should, but that's the way I look at it anyway. I don't get a lot of shit.
Yeah, not to mention that's probably a 3-stopper too, from Oakland to Greenville.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's rough.
I mean, that can't be great. That's a whole day of travel each way. You might even just leave some guys at home just because you don't want them to travel. But anyway, so the last matchup we got is Nova FC versus Richmond, which we've touched on a little bit. How do we think that one's going to kind of end up?
I guess
There's going to be a red card. I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a red card.
Why only one?
Is that your parlay? Is that your parlay bet on that one?
Probably so. Yeah, it's going
to be a 3-1 win and 2 red cards. What's plus minus?
Yeah.
Plus minus 1. Yeah.
I mean, the good thing about it is like we don't leave the state of Virginia for our first 3 games in a week, so it's only like a 2.5-hour trip. But being on 95 North is like 5 hours, so it's gonna suck.
Well, if Richmond wears those like throwback new jerseys, I could find myself rooting for them. Those are nice. I was a big fan of that.
Thank you.
there we go.
We'll try. Hopefully,
Cool.
like, the big thing is like I just need Richmond not to repeat Crystals FC. Like, do not repeat that. That was painful.
You mean get to DC United, score an early goal, and then get run out 4-1?
No, I mean don't lose like how we did the Crystals FC.
Oh, okay, all right. Just making sure.
That,
Your wish list right. Okay, I got
that
you.
was pain. Yeah.
So we've kind of done this already, but let's kind of move from left to right from on the bottom of the screen. What match do we have a League One team upsetting a USLC team? We'll start with you, Yogi.
For me, yeah, I'm gonna go with that Greenville Oakland game, just because of the travel. I don't see Oakland taking a lot of players out there. You probably get in the BC team because I figure Oakland is just gonna focus on getting into the playoffs at this point. That's it. It's still super early, but they're not focusing on the U.S. Open Cup run like that. So I'll go on that one. What you guys got?
That is a good one. I'm still sticking with Fuego El Paso. Fuego at home. That place is going to be rocking. I'm going Fuego.
I've got Chattanooga over Louisville, not because I think they're going to win, but just because the soccer gods know that we deserve it after everything we've been through the last couple of years.
Nice.
So the Chattanooga teams are both going to win, and then they're going to play each other at Chattanooga FC, and then Chattanooga's going to burn to the ground, and it's going to be wonderful.
Oh, God.
At least on Twitter, not in real life, just on Twitter.
It might in real life. Who knows?
Yeah, it might.
If we get that game, I'm going. I don't care if Richmond playing. I am going. We are doing a live Walking 90 show from that game, like college game day.
I'll be there.
Are we by the World Star of Chattanooga?
Walking 90.
Right.
Oh no!
I'm gonna pull out the mascot hat and everything.
Gonna have the TMZ. They're gonna have TMZ following us. Oh boy!
All right, but Josh, man, we just want to say thank you for taking the time. For everyone that is interested in getting U.S. Open Cup coverage, make sure you check out these guys on the socials and on this website. Once again, Josh, you be safe, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right, guys. That was long, but I mean, hey, we got a lot to cover.
Preseason. We are getting our fitness up for the regular season.
Right. We we really are. We really are. So instead of doing the power rankings, because no one has seen anyone else team play, and we don't know what any of these teams will look like, we're gonna hold off on the power rankings till next week when we get a good idea of what everyone looks like.
Does that mean I get to redo my power rankings?
Yes, that does mean it.
Good, because I don't remember what I did.
So for everyone that doesn't know, our show closes out on Thursday. We're going to send out a link for the power rankings for that week on Tuesday. So if you get it Wednesday, send all your angry cheese to Kyle, not me. But we're going to try to do a power rankings this year because there was a lot of discrepancy and upsetness with the USL League One power rankings, which we felt like no one really watched the league, and we know the league a little bit.
Plus, it'll be great content when Omaha votes themselves number one every week.
Oh yeah, it's 100% gonna happen. It's 100% gonna happen. So guys, let's go ahead. Let's break down these USL Open Cup games. And we're not gonna spend long because this is already a long podcast. Maybe 3 minutes per game. Let's start off with Richmond FC Tucson. What are your thoughts about this game? What are you expecting from this game to go down?
Richmond's really lucky it's at home.
Yeah.
This is going to be a repeat of just neither team is. It's going to be low scoring. Both teams are going to want to counter. It's going to be like a 1-0 or a 1-1. It's not going to be high scoring.
None of these games are going to be good. Just let's throw that out there.
Not to mention, I think they did this one on purpose. Richmond versus Tucson. They did a couple of these games on purpose, it feels like, and that's definitely one of them. So that's a replay of the playoffs and a replay of the last game of the season for Richmond and Tucson.
Yeah, it is. And I think the one thing about this game, because we got an interview with Darren, Akira, and Matt dropping tomorrow for Media Day. But I think the one thing that I talked to them about was, like, what is the mental state of this team going into this game? And a lot of them were just saying, like, the cliche, like, oh, we're focused on one game at a time. But you can tell, like, when they talk about Tucson, it's kind of just like, we want to get back at them. Like, we want to kind of correct the last 2 games of the season, because the last 2 games of the season for Richmond were very different. By the time that Tucson game kicked off, we were in. It was just a matter of fact of where do we have a home game or do we not? The playoff game, Richmond controlled that game maybe 88% of the time, and then it's one pop shot by Corfig that they went off of. So I think Richmond wanted to correct that narrative. I'm not going to give a score prediction because I suck at that, but I think it's going to be a very highly contested game. It's going to be interesting to see if Tucson is direct as they were last year with Charlie Dennis and Shaq Adams, and see if they're trying to change it up a little bit. I know the thing about Richmond this year is they're looking to change up formations. You might see a 5 in the back in some moments. You might see a 3 in the back. You might see 4. You might see possession. You might see them like forward runs. It just all depends on how things go. So, yeah. Next game we got coming up is Greenville versus Fuego. Fuego gets their first ever game in USL League One. Guys, thoughts on this game?
Greenville's are gonna have a field day.
Okay.
Greenville's gonna want to make this game unwatchable. Like, I feel like Fuego's gonna like come out and try and do all this stuff and like do a lot on the ball, and Greenville's just gonna shut down shop.
They're just gonna be like, nah, and then they're just gonna.
They're gonna be like, yeah, you can have the ball. You're not gonna do shit, but you can have the ball.
Mm-hmm.
That's really gonna be boring.
My thought on this game is I think William's gonna score really early, like in the first 10 minutes, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like everyone in the league knows how to beat Omaha. Everyone in the league knows how to beat Greenville. It's just a matter of doing it, right? You have to like actually execute on it. And for beating Greenville, the trick is to score first, because then they can't turtle on you and play that ugly, slow, gross ball that they do. And I think Fresno is going to slip one past them real early. And we're not getting to picks yet, but I think the game's going to be a lot more interesting than we think it's going to be, because Greenville does not like playing from behind. And I think Fresno's going to make them play from behind.
Well, also, I think the biggest mystery when it comes to Greenville is who's going to be the starting striker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the biggest mystery. Like, who's going to be the proven goal scorer on this team? Because when you think Greenville, like, it's kind of like the back four and the defensive mids that are the star part of the team and the goalkeeper, of course. But I feel like outside of that, the next four positions, the center attacking mid, the wingers, and the striker, it's kind of like a plethora, like whoever scores, but they've always had like a key striker. And I know they brought back Keegan, but we don't know what form Keegan's in based off of Ford Madison last year. Will he go back to Greenville of 2 years ago where he was about to, when he was one of the top strikers in his league? Or do we get Ford Madison Keegan that let Terzaghi surpass him and break in the USL League One goal record and then score a goal past it? So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be that goal scorer for Greenville. And then on the flip side, like for Fuego, how did this team react to their first game? Do they have the reaction of Monterey Bay where they get clobbered in the face and then they slowly figure out things? Or is it kind of just like, do they automatically hop on it like you get Omaha? So it's going to be interesting to see from this game.
Yeah, and kind of with that is, I think we know who the guy for Fresno is. And I think that's going to be the big thing there is we know who's going to score for them. It's no secret. We all know. It's just – but it will be interesting. I think, again, the person who wins that game is going to be the person that scores first. If it's Greenville, then we're in for some ugly football for the rest of the game. And if it's Fuego, it could be a pretty interesting game.
Yeah. Next game we got, I think this one got a little hint of a derby. Not saying that it is one, but, there's some feistiness between these two teams. Chattanooga versus Fort Madison. Once again, guys, what are your thoughts? Kyle, I'll start with you since this is your game.
It'll be interesting. One, Chattanooga has a lot of injuries and a lot of guys that probably won't be there. So because of that, it does give Madison an opportunity. I also don't know what to fully expect out of this Madison team. They've never been the best at starting the season well because they mainly start on the road just with weather. But weirdly enough, Chattanooga, in the 7 games they played for Madison, they've only won once, and that was the first ever game that both teams have had against each other back in 2019. Otherwise, it's either been a draw or Madison wins. So if there's a chance for Madison to start off the season with a win for the first time, this is their chance. And I think defensively, they're going to make, again, they're pretty stout defensively. I want to see, because I know they have a Finnish striker on loan who just got in literally today. I don't know if he's going to be ready, so it's probably going to be Tiam, and we'll see what Cassini does. But I think they have a chance to sneak away with 3 points.
Okay.
Mainly because Chattanooga has the injuries and stuff.
Right. Right. Chip, what are you guys' thoughts on this game? What are you expecting from it?
I mean, Chattanooga is kind of a toss-up for me. I just don't know what like you said, there's a lot of injuries there, but also both teams had a big turnover. Like all the teams in League One had a big turnover this year. Honestly, I think with all of these games, including the one that's coming up next, which is my game, it's just going to be a lot of filling each other out, and because it's getting into that first like real game. I do think Ford takes this game, but it's going to be like sloppy. We don't know. Like yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, it's gonna be like with the Richmond Tucson game. I think it's a draw. Greenville Fairlow, I think it's a Greenville win. Chattanooga Ford, I think it's a Ford win. But I just don't see any good football being played this weekend.
Mhm.
Yeah, the
This
three of these
game-
matches are going to be low scoring.
Yeah.
This
You
game's
guys are
going to be
saying all of this. It watches every game be like 3-4, 4-5.
this game's going to be a rock fight. I think. One, we kind of heard that from Ablada back on his interview a few weeks ago, but they're a team. They're not afraid to be physical. He wants his guys to get underneath people's skins. He wants them to be uncomfortable. He wants them to make dumb mistakes. Not only that, but there's some bad blood between these teams. We saw that in the last game of the year. I think Chattanooga probably has this game circled. I know I saw some chat in the offseason from guys from Chattanooga kind of, talking about this game and seeing it first. This was definitely one that I had circled. I think it's going to be really, really physical. It's going to be ugly. And I think the number of yellow cards and red cards is going to be higher than the score by a lot.
If the refs want to try and control the match, yeah, there will be a lot of yellows.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Which, if you're a Madison player, especially a good one, get reds. Osmond, looking at you, get a red card straight.
No.
Phil Brino, red card,
Do the Open Cup count as a suspension then?
No, just the Open Cup.
But no, it's going to be
a rotation for you, Matt. There you go.
Yeah, but it's going to be an ugly game. I think Madison should win, but I definitely think this is not going to be pretty.
Yeah, no, it'll be.
And that's probably charitable to say.
It's definitely going to be, a rock fight. It's going to be slow. I think a lot of these teams are not going to show their hand. And then there's the next game, which is going to be the complete opposite.
Well, let me get into it. All right. So in this game, not only do you have the two teams that I think are kind of everyone's fan favorites, everyone's kind of love these two teams. You got Tormenta versus North Carolina FC. Before I let you guys pick this game, let me give the quick backdrop. So Tormenta completely have revamped this team. They have sold guys on up to USL Championship, MLS 2 rosters. They spent that money. They brought in talent to, this year make that playoff push. I believe they are the only team left from the first year of USL League One yet to make it to a playoff yet. Am I correct in saying that? I believe I
yes.
They're the only team yet to make it to
Madison,
a playoff.
Chattanooga, Tucson, Richmond. Yeah.
Yeah, they're the only team left. So I think the key this year is getting to a playoff with that new stadium looking to open up soon. And then you got North Carolina FC, the team that last year dropped in the USL Championship that did horrendously on the field, playing a lot of young guys. When we did an interview with John Bradford, which, by the way, make sure you check out all our interview supporters with money.
Like and subscribe.
He talked about mainly making sure we want to bring in veteran guys. Like they brought in Oleg Sanders. They brought in Skelton. They brought in guys in key positions that they needed to fill in the holes to make sure they can improve. Now, there are question marks on both sides. I think the question marks that we all agree on both teams is goalkeeper. Pablo's been in this league for 4 years. He has not lived up to the hype or lived up to the success of other goalkeepers in his league. NCFC, they're very young at goalkeeper. William Pulisic, the lesser-known brother of Christian Pulisic, who is U.S. agent. He's unproven. We don't know a lot about him. Also, another thing, strike partnership. Where did the strike partnership lies up for either one of these two teams? How are these two teams going to play? So I open it up to you guys. How is this game going to go?
I'll start because it's my team here. Just like this game was going to be different from the other ones, and like it's going to be bad, but it's going to be like fast bad. These teams are just going to fucking run. and it's either going to be 0-0 at the end or it's going to be 4-4. There's no in between. But it's gonna be ugly getting there. And that's gonna be the greatest part about it.
Yeah. I agree with Ebony.
I honestly am gonna watch this game and just sit here and be like, I don't know how any of this happened, and yet it makes complete sense with both of these teams. Not to say it's gonna be like a high scoring game or a low score. I'm just gonna watch and be like, this is if I had to, if you would have told me this all would happen before the match goes in, and I watch and I see it, I'd be like, yeah, that all made sense. I would not. I won't question anything if I miss a text from anyone and say, "Did you see what happened in this game?" I'd be like, "No, what? This happened." Oh, okay, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, this game is Fast and Furious 9. Like Ebony said, it's like, is there anything good that's going to come from it? Like, am I going to be a better person after watching it? No. Am I going to be entertained for 2 hours? Yeah. You know, they're going to do something wacky. Like, yeah, sure, they're racing on the moon. Why not? You know.
Yeah, there might be a tank that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, Pablo Yara scored a hat trick from goal. Why not? Like,
it's like Nick Holliday's a forward.
Weird. There's goalie wars going on. Like, it's gonna be a fun game. And I think again, like I think Tormenta is a team that underperformed relative to their talent last year. And so I think Tormenta kind of wants to come out and say, well, that team last year isn't who we are. We're better than that team last year. We want to come out. We want to show it. We want to make the playoffs. NCFC is a team that says, we know we were bad this last year. We're not that team anymore. We're a good team this year. We're to compete. We're a team that if you see on your schedule, you're not happy to see us on there because we're going to come in. We're going to play these young guys who are all going to end up in Europe in 4 years, and it's going to be a tough out for you. And I think this is really kind of their coming out party for both of those teams. And I think it's going to be a really, really fun game to watch, which I think, we've kind of all tilted our hands a bit for the next series of questions, but I think this game's going to be a lot of fun.
This is the questions everyone loves about our show because this is what makes our show unique. It is everyone's favorite cow. Can I get the drum roll, please? Chaos and Vibez, baby.
Let's go.
Right. So let's go ahead and get into it, guys. For those who don't know, for those that are new to the show, we do Chaos and Vibez. It only happens on this show because this show is the awesome show. Chaos pick. This is the pick where pretty much anything goes. Anything can happen. Anything will happen. Will there be 4 red cards? Maybe. Will there be 7 goals? Maybe. Will a player get punched in the face? Possibly. Guys, what is your chaos pick for this week?
Based on the chippiness that we saw at the end of last season, based on both teams wanting to probably be a little bit more physical, based on just anything goes, and probably going to be an interesting matchup between the teams, I'm going to go Ford Madison and Chattanooga. I feel like like Chip mentioned, there's probably going to be more yellow cards than goals. I feel like there's going to be one hard tackle that's going to happen. Yeah, I'm going to go with that one. I feel like there's going to be a lot of tackles that people are not going to be happy with.
Yeah. All right, Chip Ep.
All right, I'll do my chaos. My chaos is definitely going to be Tormenta versus NCFC. That game is going to be wild. Like, we're about to see some things that yesterday was don't fuck it up day. Somebody's going to fuck it up on Saturday with these two teams. It's going to be great.
Yeah, so I would say my chaos pick is also the Chattanooga game as well versus Ford Madison. I think both. I know that Madison said they want to play really pretty football with who they've signed. I don't think they're going to. I know we all know that Chattanooga doesn't like playing pretty football, and they like playing. I don't want to say dirty, but they like getting under your skin. They like needling you. So I think it's going to be a game where there's going to be a lot of guys going out there, a lot of chippy tackles, a lot of guys trying to get underneath each other's skins, lots of shit talk. We know that Chattanooga loves to shit talk, and we're just going to see a lot of yellow cards, maybe not a lot of scoring, but it's going to be one of those games where you're like, what just happened? Especially if the refs from championship or any indicator of how the reffing is going to be this year in USL 1.
Mm. Me, you know what? I'm going to go Greenville Fuego for this game because I'm interested to see how Fuego plays because I think, like, what you alluded to, Chuck, if Fuego scores first, I think Greenville, after a while, is going to throw in the kitchen sink and they're going to go after it. I think if Greenville scores first, don't be surprised if Fuego's like, it's our first game. We'll put on 9 attackers. They play a WM formation and call it a day. Don't be surprised. So that's my pick. And next we got Vibes, y'all. Vibes. This is the game where it's going to be laid back. It's going to be chill. It's going to be a good watch. This is the game you're sharing to your friends. Be like, yo, this is why you need to check out USL League One. Look at these plays. Look at these players. Look at this goal from half court, from the half line. Look at this amazing save. What game are we picking as Vibes?
See,
North Carolina Tormenta. Duh.
What?
This
Maybe
is gonna
not
be the
the-
one. No. Because the other three matches are not going to be that entertaining. Like, I cannot vouch anyone that does not have investment in either the league or the teams that are playing. Like, if someone that does not watch USL soccer has no interest in USL soccer, if they want to watch this game, I cannot promote the other three because they're not going to be good enough for it. North Carolina Tormenta, however, that could give them at least some entertainment.
Mhm.
All right, it was
There's
both my
storylines
vibes
there.
and it was my vibes and chaos because if we're gonna call it vibes, it's definitely gonna be that game where you're like, "Yo, did you see that shit?" And then your chaos is gonna be, "Yo, did you really see that shit?" So I
The
think
Vibes
that's
is a halftime show. The Chaos is Will Smith slapping Chris Rock.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone said it so far. NCFC Torment, I think it's going to be the game that if I had a friend who was interested in League One and I said, well, Omaha's not playing, but hey, watch this one. Watch this game.
Yeah.
This will give you a nice little encapsulation of the league and everything else. It's going to be fun. And something crazy is going to happen, especially if like Sterling scores a goal. It's going to like somehow make Sports Center top 10 and they're going to mention that he's a former Tottenham guy like 17 times.
Say he was a strike partner that Harry Kane always missed.
Right. They're going to be like, Harry Kane, Harry Kane was watching that strike from Sterling from 30 yards out. Some
That your striker can't do this. I bet he.
I mean, Harry Kane doesn't even do it.
Has Harry Kane ever done it on a muggy Tuesday in Richmond? No, he has not.
So, Brian, I know you're going to listen to this after you get beers. But what you need to do is you need to have someone drop that like Ninja Turtle meme with the rat of Harry Kane holding Sterling's hand when he was little.
Oh, no.
Switch when Sterling scores his first goal.
No, actually, that Jackson's got to do that. Jackson, I know you're listening. That is on Jackson over in Tormenta. That's got to be him.
Maybe just put their faces
If he
on
hasn't done it already.
The worse it looks, almost the better. Like, don't spend much time on it.
You get 2 minutes.
This is
That's
a
a lot
low
of time.
budget. This is a low budget show, sir.
We have a budget?
Look, we try to get bet money and basic serve money and everything else.
Walking 90 presented by Caesars Entertainment.
F1 in
Flavors
2023.
stirrup.
Ebony, we can make the trip out there.
I'm here with you. We
We'll
got
all
it.
got in our gold-plated helicopter.
All right.
We're gonna check out a Las Vegas Lights game, interact with the llamas.
We'll throw our own money out of the helicopter.
Whoa, I'm not going that far. What? No, not my money.
Well, hey guys,
God's money.
that's USL Championship territory. Remember, we're League One.
And we can do both. We'll have a short show about it.
Gotta stay in our lane, y'all.
Oh gosh. Oh.
All right, y'all. Well, as always, guys, we want to say thank y'all for taking the time out of y'all day for watching us. We know this is a long one, but it's a good one as always. We haven't decided if we're coming back. Well, no,
We'll be here Monday.
Yeah, we'll be here Monday. We got FC Tucson, the entire front office on. So if you got any questions, tweet them at us. We'll be answering them on the show. We'll also go through the first week games and get you another recap again for the US Open games coming up. But for Chip, for Kyle, for Eb, I'm Yogi. We will holler at you guys later. Be safe and be easy.